Good morning, and it is a good morning. It's a joy in the morning. Today is your day. You're not going to bed the same as when you woke up. You're going to get a hold of something today that's going to light up your spirit. It's going to flood your soul and be healing, prosperity, soul salvation, even to the root of that sickness that's been trying to torment you. This is your day to be healed. This is your day to be delivered. This is your day to go on with your life, a supernatural destiny, dream plan God has for your life. Today is your day. You're receiving this word from heaven, and you're going to do it. Because we're doers of the word and not hearers only. I'm Elizabeth Smither with Faith Victory Church, Soul Salvation Ministries, bringing you that word in due season that's going to save your soul. Today, we're going to go over here to Mark in chapter 5. We've been talking about testimonies and how testimonies will impact your soul. As testimonies will bring your soul out of darkness into His marvelous light. How your testimonies will cause you to go from being healed to being in health. I want to repeat that testimony. Remember the woman with the issue of blood? We've gone over that two or three times this week, but it's a master key for testimonies being so vitally important for the salvation of your soul. You remember that she said continually, if I just touch His garment, I'll be healed or I'll be whole of this plague. And it says when she touched exactly what she was saying happened, and she was healed of that plague. Then Jesus turned around and He was insistent on finding that woman that had drawn power out of him, that had attached her faith to his power. See, the power, the healing power, virtue that was flowing out of him. Her faith touched that healing power so that it came into her body. If I just touch His garment, I'll be made whole. Then Jesus, when He said, who touched me? He made that woman come up and give her testimony. Why? Because He knew that plague would try to come back on her. That's right. That's what happens. You get healed by somebody praying for you through the gifts of the Spirit. Maybe you're worshiping the Lord. You connect with that healing power of God. But your soul must be renewed. You must be not just healed, but in health. What are we talking about being in health? We're talking about your soul being saved into that spiritual reality of what Jesus has done for you, of the born-again spirit. The express image of Jesus Christ that your born-again spirit is. Right? So your testimony, the testimony of Jesus, is the spirit of prophecy. And it's not only prophesying for other people to get them healed, to get them delivered, but it is prophesying and coming into your mind and into your soul. Don't you know what the defeated devil tries to do? The only way he can affect you in any way at all, he cannot touch your spirit. No, he cannot. He has no access to the spirit realm at all. He's invisible, but he is in another invisible realm called the soul world. That's where he sets up, that's where he brings tourniquets to your soul to keep the life of your spirit from flowing into your physical body. And the only way he doesn't have a physical body, see, unless he possesses someone else and uses their body to try to attack your body. See that? So the only real way that he has access to your life is through your soul, and not through a spiritual-minded soul. See, a spiritual-minded soul is in the light. The word says in Romans chapter 8, verse 6, to be spiritually minded is life and peace. To be carnally minded is death. So carnally minded is darkness. Spiritually minded is light. 1 John 1:7, walk in the light as he is in the light. How are you going to do that? With your soul out of darkness and into the light. Your soul was not born again when you were born again. So I wish above all things, God says, that you would prosper and be in health. See, being in health, that's that word hugies, that means sound, whole. It's used many times in the New Testament as sound faith, whole faith, sound doctrine, okay? Sound speech, sound speech, in whole, where he says, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in health. I just keep emphasizing that because I want this light to come into your heart and see that the problem is not with you. You are a son of God. You are a daughter of God. You're the righteousness of God and right standing with God if you have invited Jesus into your heart. He has recreated your spirit in the very express image of Jesus Christ. Listen to me. God has duplicated himself in you through Jesus Christ. The blood of Jesus Christ has cleansed your heart. This is so powerful. But your soul did not get saved when you were born again. Oh, it affected your soul somewhat. But if you will start giving your testimony every day, somebody needs to hear your testimony over and over again. It delivers your soul out of just remembering that you were healed. That we're dealing with healing this week. Remembering you were healed into being in health where you have no fear of sickness anymore. You don't fear it. You're in health. Your soul is in health, in light concerning the healing of your body. And a lot of what we're talking about this week is how your testimony causes your soul to be in health, your soul to be whole, for you to be not just healed, but in whole. That's what happened with the woman with the issue of blood. Jesus said, your faith has made you whole or healed you. Now, go in peace. The peace of God, a powerful, powerful force. We'll talk about the peace of the Lord, the peace, the spiritual, unconditional, spiritual, perpetual life force of peace. The God of peace will crush Satan under your feet shortly. Go in peace, he said, and be whole, it's a different Greek word. Be sound. I like to just go on and say the Greek word, hugies, of your plague. And that impressed on me. And I started searching the scriptures of people that gave their testimony and it caused not just for them to be healed, but be made whole and sound in their bodies. The testimony of Jesus, the spirit of prophecy. So we're over here in Mark in chapter 5, and it says, and they came over unto the other side of the sea. Now, you remember in chapter 4 of Mark, Jesus constrained his disciples to get in the ship. He went with them, and he fell asleep in the back, and they had this great storm that came up, right? But he rose up. They said, "Carest thou not that we perish?" He rose, rebuked the storm, the wind, and its sea, and the storm. The sea was calm. And it said they came on over to the other side. Of course, that storm, there's always, after a great storm, there's a great calm. So don't you give up in the storm. They came over the other side of the sea, in the country of the Gadarenes, and when he came out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man neither could any man tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying, and cut himself with stones. See, you find out where that cutting, people that cut themselves, it feels good. They're in such torment and such pain. In this case, some estimate 2,000 devils tormenting him and persecuting him, and he would cut himself, and this torment was so great that the cutting of himself, it would release chemical endorphins into his body, and it would make him feel better. Is that crazy? But when he saw Jesus, he ran and worshiped him and cried with a loud voice, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of God Most High? I adjure you by God, you torment me not." See, he was running to worship him. He wanted to be free, but the devils were still speaking out of his mouth. See, the defeated devil was saying, "Torment me not, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, that you torment me not. What have I to do with you?" For he was saying unto him, "Come out of the man." He was saying to that defeated devil that was speaking out of that man's mouth. And you've got to understand that. A lot of times when people are confronting you or persecuting whatever, they may want to be free. Well, they do want to be free. There's nobody that wants to go to hell. That's crazy. Jesus had made heaven available, and they're wanting to be free. They may be coming over you, but persecution and cursing and bitterness and whatever's coming out of their mouth because of the pressure and torment of the devil. So the devil's speaking out of their mouth. It's not them. They want to be free. And so if you will start giving your testimony, if you will forgive them, if you'll not get all riled up in your own soul, don't let the devil start attacking your soul through them. 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 14 says, don't be terrified by their fear. Don't let the terror that they're being tormented with come at you. Even in Philippians, it says that it's an evident token of their perdition, but of you, salvation. So don't be put off by them coming at you like that. Look what Jesus did. Because he was saying to him, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. And he asked him, what is your name? Now, my conviction, I don't feel like Jesus wanted to know that devil's name. Who cares? Jesus doesn't care anything about the devil's name or even what he's doing. He could care less. A fallen spirit, a fallen angel. Angels are not even made in the image of God. Angels cannot sit in the presence of God. Jesus has invited you to come up come and sit with him at his right hand. You've been raised up, quickened, and raised, seated in heavenly places with Christ Jesus. Angels are not allowed to sit in God's presence. And here we have a fallen at his very best. He was an angel created to serve you. See? And he's a fallen, stripped, made a show of openly angel. And it said, so Jesus, I don't feel like, this is me, that he's asking this devil what his name is. He's asking the man, but the devil's still speaking out of his mouth. See, because he's so demonically oppressed by this devil. He asked, what is your name? And he answered him, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Oh, brother, like that's really going to intimidate Jesus. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran valiantly down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000, and choked in the sea. And they that fed the swine fled and told in the city and the country. And they went out to see what it was that was done. And they came to Jesus. This is so beautiful. I love this verse. And they come to Jesus, and they see him who was possessed with the devil and had the legion, sitting and clothed and in his right mind. Wow. Sitting, not cutting himself, not screaming. Clothed. Where did the clothes come from? Jesus, the disciples, they bring a load of, welfare clothes with them or something. This is supernatural provision. This is how the blessing operates. And in his right mind. In other words, a sound mind. And they were afraid. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devils, and also concerning the swine. So he's stirring them up. And they began to pray, Jesus, depart, get out of here. We don't want you. They were afraid of Jesus. These are a bunch of Gentiles. They've got pigs. Jews weren't allowed to have pigs. See? And these Gentiles, they were under the control of all those devils. He called himself Legion. But anyway, they were under the control of those devils that were possessing that man. Now that he's free and those devils are gone, they are more afraid of Jesus because Jesus was more powerful than all those devils that were oppressing them and keeping them under their control. So he must have a bigger devil in him. And now we're going to be more oppressed. Now see, they didn't understand. Okay? And so let's follow this. And when Jesus was come into the ship, he was leaving, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. Okay, so the guy that got free, he wanted to be with Jesus. Well, for one thing, he was a Gentile, okay? And Jesus isn't being sent to the Gentiles at this time. Howbeit, Jesus suffered him not, but said unto him, now listen, go home to your friends and tell them what? How great things the Lord has done for you and has had compassion on you. What's he doing? Well, for one thing, he was a Gentile. So he could come with Jesus, but he, at that time, couldn't be one of his, 12 disciples. He could be in the crowd. I mean, he could go with him. But see, what was more important to Jesus is that he would not just be delivered, is that he would not just be healed, but he would be in health by giving his testimony over and over and over again. And it says, and see, when Jesus sends someone, he sends them with the power to cast out devils, to raise the dead, forgiveness power. See? And he's with his testimony. It said, and he departed and began to publish in Decapolis. Decapolis, that means 10 cities. So this is a 10-city region. And what was he doing? Giving his testimony. Ministering that testimony everywhere he went. Great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. And then it says a few chapters later, it says Jesus returned to Decapolis. And when he came back again, because this man had been publishing his testimony everywhere and going and blessing people with the goodness of God, and conversions were happening all over the place. People were being translated out of the kingdom of darkness they weren't being born again, but they were being delivered by the light in this man's life, giving his testimony. He won that whole 10-city area to Jesus, because the next time he came, they welcomed him. They ran to him. They brought their sick to him. One person in particular, a deaf and dumb man, they brought to Jesus, and he took him out, and it says that he healed them. And everyone that found out about that healing that Jesus did for this man, the compassion he had on this man, they said, he does all things well. He makes the dumb to speak. He makes the deaf to hear. Now they were glorifying God for Jesus, where before they were pushing him out. But when the man started giving his testimony throughout that whole 10-city area, watch, he not only was winning those that were in darkness and being oppressed and tormented by the devil. This is so powerful, folks. We must get a hold of this. Jesus cast out those devils. They didn't just leave that man, they left that whole area. That area was not under the demonic control anymore. But he needed, really, it was important for Jesus to send this man with his testimony, not just to scatter devils, okay, but for himself to be not just delivered, but in health. See? Not just healed, but in health. Watch. And for the whole area, not just to be delivered, but in deliverance. So those devils would not be able to come back on that Decapolis area and control these people anymore. Shoo, this is so important that you get a hold of this. How your testimony, the testimony of this man, and now all men did marvel, meaning in this 10-city area. And when Jesus came back, they were glorifying God for Jesus, where before they were so afraid of him, they didn't want him in their land. See, they went from being delivered of those devils, leaving and being free of them, to be in deliverance. So that those defeated devils, because now they're glorifying God, now they want Jesus. Be interesting to even follow up on the history of that region. But they didn't want to be. And as long as that man, and as long as these people were magnifying the Lord, glorifying God, see, the devil had no way to come back in there and to put them in bondage again, because they were not only delivered, but they were in deliverance. Remember, Nehemiah 8:10, the joy of the Lord is your strength.